Hello, yes, welcome back. So, the reason my alias or screen name or username or whatever you want to call it is Resprite is because when I was a kid, I really enjoyed drawing, but also modifying video game sprites. Basically, the little pixel art that's used in video games. And so I started to call myself Resprite because, I would change sprites. And then, along the way, the E kind of got dropped. I changed the capitalization. That's why. And so as a kid, I spent a lot of time in MS Paint as my tool of choice, at least relative to a kid, and it is especially relative to how I spend my time now. And during that time, I learned a couple of ancient little secrets about MS Paint that I wanted to share today. So here's the first one. This one does not apply to the current version of MS Paint. I believe things really started to change around Windows 7. But in the older versions of MS Paint, there was a secret zoom feature. So you'd have the options 1x, 2x, 4x, and 8x. But as it turns out, right below 8x, there was like a 1 pixel region that you could click on that would give you 10x zoom. And if you're working with pixel art, of course, being able to zoom in as much as possible was very essential. All right, here's the second one. It turns out that in MS Paint, you don't have just 2 colors to work with. Normally, when you look at the UI, you would see an A color or color 1, the foreground color, and color number 2, the background color. And again, this does not exist in current versions of MS Paint, just the older ones. But if you were to hold Control and then color pick a color, it would actually set a tertiary color. When I was looking into this right before recording this video, it turns out that apparently this tertiary color was meant to be the transparency layer color. So if you wanted part of your image to be transparent, like in a PNG, you would use the tertiary color to determine what the transparency would be. All right, and here's the final little secret. And this one I think is one of my favorites because of how useful it ended up being for me. This one does exist in current versions of MS Paint. So, the eraser tool in MS Paint, the way it works is that it erases. And the way it erases is based on whatever you set your background color to be. So if you set your background color to be white, and then you pull out the eraser tool, you can scrub around, and everything it erases turns white. And in this way, the eraser kind of just feels like a second paintbrush that's square-shaped, but instead of the primary color, it uses the background color. Well, the one interesting thing about the eraser tool, besides that it's square, is that if you hold right-click while using it, not left-click, what will happen is that it will only erase whatever color you have set as the primary color. So if the primary color is, say, red, and the background color is, say, blue, and you pull out the eraser, and you right-click and scrub over something that's red, only the red color will change. And this recoloring technique was extremely, extremely useful for changing color palettes of pixel art and stuff. So I used it all the time. And you can still use it now. I recommend, if you've never tried it before, just pull up MS Paint, do what I just said. It feels kind of like magic when you first discover it. But anyways, I wanted to share these because I learned about all of these little tricks from word of mouth when I was a kid. And I kind of miss that time when little Easter eggs like that were passed around on the playground or in the school library or, just by word of mouth, and not as internet-y. Which is not to say that, things are terrible now, and I'm sure this exists in some form or whatever in, schools right now. But not to nostalgia bait too much or anything, but I just miss it. But I'm glad I can remember these little secrets all these years later now. So I figured I'd share them with you. I'm sure they're documented somewhere, but for me, they live in my head. All right, that's all. Thanks for watching.